but I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA.
Holy shit! For this? For the pod? Again?
They didn't like my comments on Paige Becker's.
No way!
I didn't even say anything bad.
The voices aren't just whispers anymore. They're growing into a roar. Frustration has hit a boiling point, and the unthinkable is now being said out loud across social media and sports forums. Sophie Cunningham supporters have had enough, and their message couldn't be clearer. They don't want her silenced any longer. To them, it looks like the league is more focused on managing narratives than on protecting its players or allowing the truth about what's happening behind the scenes to come to light.
She spoke about the league, but more importantly, she stated she got another fine for actually talking about Paige Becker's. Now, we all ultimately know what happened last time. She had her podcast. She let it be known that Paige Becker's got that blue blood whistle, bro. And make a long story short, she stated the WNBA fined her for that. And she spoke about Bree Hartley. She also talked about Caitlin Clark rehab. But guys, it's unfortunate that she will be out for the remainder of
the sentiment is catching fire, with fans rallying behind Cunningham and urging her to keep speaking out. Their stance is simple. If the WNBA is willing to fine players simply for voicing an opinion, then something is deeply broken within the league. At this point, it's no longer just about basketball. It's about an organization that seems to have completely forgotten what free speech means, even when it comes from the very athletes who make the league
employees.
So lads, the WNBA have done it. They have done it. They have officially fined Sophie Cunningham every podcast episode. They have fined her. Sophie Cunningham has been fined. I'm not joking. She's been fined for a TikTok. She's been fined now, I think, for the 3rd time for a podcast. I think Sophie Cunningham might be the all-time leader in fines in the WNBA. So let's take a listen.
Sophie Cunningham, now widely seen as a voice of truth in women's basketball, has broken her silence on what she describes as a deliberate campaign to fine her into silence. Her words cut straight to the heart of everything fans say is wrong with the WNBA. What began as genuine, unfiltered commentary on her podcast has escalated into an all-out battle against transparency. And through it all, Cunningham has made one thing clear. She has no intention of backing down.
They are not protecting their players. Nobody's going to watch this if you're not protecting your star player. You're not protecting your players, period. But particularly your star players. No one's going to watch this. People are watching it because of Caitlin Clark, and then even more because of Sophie Cunningham. And if you're going to just hang them out to dry, then, you know, good. Nobody's going to watch this anymore because they don't protect their players. It's a worthless organization. They have no idea how to protect their players. But, oh man, they're going to bitch and moan. Well, you better pay us the money. For what? You can't even protect your star players that draw the eyeballs. Now nobody's watching. Nobody's going to watch to see the star players sitting out with injuries because of poor treatment and poor officiating on the sides. Nobody's going to watch that.
If you're enjoying this, don't forget to subscribe. What should have been a simple podcast episode about basketball and life turned into yet another chapter in the WNBA's ongoing effort to control the narrative. When Sophie Cunningham launched her podcast Show Me Something with co-host Wes Wilson, the goal was clear: to have real, unfiltered conversations about the league she lives and breathes. Instead, she's learning that speaking truth to power isn't free. It comes with a steep price tag.
She has turned herself into a top 5 most talked about player in the WNBA. And can I tell you, I am loving the clips that are coming out of this podcast. There's just so much fascinating elements of her that make her this really alpha, really strong, but really beautiful, spicy villain. And I think she kind of likes being the villain.
I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA. Cunningham admitted on her latest podcast, her voice heavy with the frustration of someone watching an organization value control over honesty. They didn't like my comments on Paige Becker's. I didn't even say anything bad. But this time, something shifted. This time, Sophie Cunningham made it clear she wouldn't be silenced by fines that feel more like intimidation tactics than fair corrections. Episode after episode, she's been hit with financial penalties steep enough to make anyone question whether honest conversation is even allowed in today's WNBA.
I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA.
Holy shit. For this? For the pod? Again?
They didn't like my comments on Paige Becker's.
No way.
I didn't even say anything bad.
On the whistle? On the quick whistle?
Yeah. But like, why? Like,
If we want to talk about Paige, here's a good question.
They fined her for saying Paige Beckers has a good whistle. Like, I kid you not, that is one of the craziest reasons I've seen a player get fined.
What followed was unlike anything the WNBA had ever seen. Just days after Cunningham exposed the league's fine structure, fans began rallying behind her, not only as a player, but as a fearless voice willing to speak the truth no matter the cost. Social media lit up with support, dubbing her the truth teller and demanding that the league stop silencing anyone who dares to challenge its preferred narrative. And when Cunningham finally confronted the pattern of fines tied to every single episode of her podcast, her words sliced through the usual polished, diplomatic spin like a knife through butter.
There is something seriously wrong with how the W enforces their rules. And I know there's already been a big emphasis on referee inconsistencies, but at the end of the day, the quality of referees is on the WNBA too. Because again, I have no idea where the line is. Because on one hand, I kind of get it. It's normal for a league to fine you if you're going to talk bad about the league or the players in the league. Because that happens all the time in the NBA, NFL, and so on. But on the other hand, why does the league not care about its image when players are standing over and cursing out their opponents on the court? Like, where was the enforcement here? Or where was it here? Or where was it when the whole entire league was bullying your star player? And this stuff is happening all the time in the WNBA, but why is it only called on occasion? Which is why finding Sophie Cunningham every time she has a podcast seems kind of crazy, because the WNBA obviously chooses when and when not to enforce the rules.
Here's what makes Cunningham's situation so alarming. She isn't being fined for making false or inflammatory statements. She's being punished for pointing out obvious realities, basic observations about officiating consistency and league operations that any reasonable fan could see for themselves. The WNBA has effectively built a system where honest commentary about its own product is met with financial penalties, no matter the accuracy or intent behind the words. The numbers alone expose how systematic this has become. Cunningham was fined $500 for a lighthearted TikTok, where she merely lip-synced lyrics while referencing referees. She was then hit with a $1,500 fine after raising concerns about officiating consistency in her very first podcast episode. And most recently, she was slapped with yet another undisclosed fine, this time for simply pointing out that Dallas Wings rookie Paige Buchers seemed to receive favorable calls from officials.
Do they, when you get fined, do they put like verbatim, like quote here, like this is why you're being fined and this is why it's this much? Or is it like, hey, quit talking shit on us, Venmo us like 1,500?
What happens is they email our GM, and she pulls me aside and she goes, "Come here, Soph, I have to talk to you." And this is in like front of everybody. And I was like, "What did I do now?" And she just smiled and she goes, "Hey, they're gonna fine you again." They're like, I was like, I even told them, I even credited them that their job was hard. I did say that, and I said that I would be good at it. I did say that. Like, look at the whole picture.
What's happening.
What are we doing?
This isn't about upholding league standards or protecting reputations. It's about an organization so obsessed with controlling its image that it's willing to financially punish its own players for making the same observations millions of fans voice every night. The WNBA's handling of Cunningham has been nothing short of disgraceful. Rather than addressing the valid concerns she's raised about officiating consistency, expansion decisions, and overall league operations, the league has chosen to enforce what can only be described as a financial gag order. Even Rebecca Lobo has openly acknowledged that officiating issues exist. But when a current player like Cunningham points out the same truths, she's met with immediate financial consequences. And that's the truly chilling part. Sophie Cunningham's treatment has exposed a reality where players are scared to speak honestly about their own league, because honesty now comes with a price tag.